Hey everyone, tonight we're stepping into the boots of a World War II soldier. A life far from glory, filled with mud, cold, and the constant hum of fear. This isn't about heroic parades or triumphant victories. It's about the raw, brutal reality of waiting in trenches, the hunger that gnaws at your insides, and the nights spent wondering if you'll see home again. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you really appreciate these honest, gritty stories from the front lines. And drop a comment letting me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always powerful to connect with people all over the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's march together into this story of survival, sacrifice, and the human spirit under fire. It's not so much that you wake up, more that you're reminded you're still alive. The rats in the trench don't care what time it is, but your bladder and the mortar shell 3 clicks east have a disagreement about who gets to rattle you awake first. One wins. You can guess which. You open your eyes and regret it immediately. It's dark, but not pitch dark, just that kind of grey that suggests dawn is still taking its sweet time. You lie still for a moment, listening. Mud squelches somewhere to your left, the sound of someone shifting in their sleep, or just giving up on it entirely. Someone coughs. Wet, thick, unpromising. And somewhere down the line, a man snores with the calm assurance of someone who could sleep through a bombing. You envy him, or hate him. Hard to tell in this light. The cot is generous enough to be called that only by someone who's never seen a real bed. It's more like a hammock made out of regret and army canvas. Your blanket, military issue, is the colour of despair and smells faintly of feet, cigarette ash, and a memory of better days. You wrap it tighter anyway. Warmth is relative out here. So is comfort, so is sanity. Outside the trench is a moat of ankle-deep filth, lined with men who all carry the same look somewhere between exhausted and permanently disappointed in how their life turned out. The walls are slick with mud, which is just earth that decided to stop pretending. You sit up slowly, careful not to twist anything. Joints pop, your neck creaks. It's not age, it's the weight of another night of half, sleep and full dread. Boots go on first, they're wet. Always are. Doesn't matter if it rained or not. Water finds a way. Socks are stiff, slightly crunchy in that concerning way, but you put them on anyway. The uniform goes on in pieces, because layering misery takes time. Shirt, jacket, belt with a buckle that wants to slice your fingers open if you touch it wrong. You tuck everything in without looking. Neatness counts, even if you're about to crawl through a ditch full of barbed wire and lost hopes. There's a tin mug hanging on a nail by your post. You grab it and clamber out of your dig-out like an elderly badger coming out of retirement. The air outside bites you gently in the face. It's cold but not cold enough to kill you. Just cold enough to make your nose run and your fingers curse your ancestors. Mess is what they call breakfast, which is appropriate. It's a line of men holding dented tins, and the kind of optimism that comes from knowing whatever they get can't be worse than yesterday's. You join them, shuffling forward one boot at a time, listening to the faint whistle of incoming mail from the enemy side. Not letters, not love, mortars. When you finally reach the head of the line, a corporal with a ladle that has seen better wars slops something into your tin. It's grey, it steams. That's about all you can say for it. You ask what it is. He says food. You don't push it. Asking too many questions before sunrise is how people get volunteered for patrol. You sit on an overturned ammo crate to eat. The food tastes like damp cardboard and regret. Still you chew. Not because you're hungry, necessarily, but because it keeps your jaw busy and gives your brain something to do besides panic. Someone passes you a cigarette stub, which you light with hands that shake just a little. Not from fear, you tell yourself, just from the cold. Definitely the cold. The captain makes his rounds. He's a tall man, or maybe he just stands straighter than most. His coat is cleaner. His boots are drier. He asks if you're ready. You nod. You always nod. It's not about being ready. It's about not being the one who says no. No one wants to be remembered as the guy who flinched. A whistle blows. Not for tea. Never for tea. You're moving. Boots crunch over gravel. Somewhere, someone hums a tune they don't remember learning. Probably their mother sang it once. Maybe it's just a noise they make to stay sane. Doesn't matter. It's the only music you've got. Helmets clang gently. Rifles shift on shoulders. The sound of gear moving with tired bodies is the soundtrack of the war. The sky lightens just a bit. Enough to see the shape of the land ahead. Enough to see where you're going. Not enough to see if you'll make it back. You think about home. Whatever version of it still exists in your head. A front porch, maybe. A pie. A woman in a dress. Your dad's radio playing something cheerful through the static. It all feels like fiction now. Your squad stops at a shallow dip in the earth. The captain crouches and points. You nod again. That's all you ever do. Orders come down like the weather. Indifferent. Cold, occasionally thunderous. You check your gear. 1 clip in the rifle. 2 in the pouch. Grenade in the belt. Everything's still there, including the fear. You push it down, like you always do. And then you're moving forward again, crawling now, mud against your chest, breath held tight. The war doesn't wait for anyone to get ready. It just shows up and expects you to keep up. You can hear your heartbeat in your ears. You can hear the rattle of distant gunfire. You can feel your body shake in that way it does when it's trying to convince your brain not to get involved. Someone whispers a prayer. Someone else swears you do neither. You just move, because that's the job. The mud is a liar. It promises to hold you up, slow you down, swallow you whole, but it never gives you the peace of letting go. It just keeps you hanging in that miserable half state of sinking and scrambling. You know if you stop, you'll drown in it. So you push forward, hands scraping the earth, knees caked in sludge, heart trying not to jump out of your chest. Every breath tastes like dirt and fear. The smell of gunpowder lingers like a bad cologne you can't wash off. The air is thick with the groans of the wounded and the whispers of those who never got a chance to whisper goodbye. You feel the weight of your pack, like a lead anchor tied to your back, but you don't dare drop it. Not here. Not now. Too many men have died shedding their gear, their lives, their last shred of hope. The trench behind you is a scar on the earth, a line of broken men waiting for the next order to march into hell. You know because you've been there. You've felt the cold seep into your bones and the silence scream louder than the bombs. Time here is a cruel joke. Minutes stretch into hours, hours into days. The war doesn't care if you're tired, hungry, or missing your family. It just keeps grinding on, like a machine that's run out of oil, but refuses to stop. You huddle with your comrades in the shallow dip, faces smeared with grime and exhaustion. They don't speak much. When they do, it's about the old world, home, women, the smell of rain on dry earth. Dreams you tuck away deep because the war isn't a place for dreams. It's a place for survival. A shell explodes somewhere close. The ground shakes beneath you, a violent reminder that death is always just a heartbeat away. You don't flinch, you can't. You learn that lesson fast. Your buddy beside you scratches at his neck, trying to peel off lice that have made a home in his hair. You don't blame them. They're the only company that's been steady through this nightmare. The rain starts. Slow at first, then relentless. It turns the trench into a river of mud and despair. Your clothes cling to your skin like a second, heavier layer of filth. Your boots squelch with every step, full of water that feels colder than the grave. You want to curse the rain. You want to scream at the sky. But there's no energy left in you for that. Only the dull ache of cold and the sharp edge of hunger. Your stomach growls. You hate the sound. It's a betrayal, reminding you that you're still human when all you want is to stop feeling anything at all. You open your pack and pull out the rations. A tin of biscuits hard enough to break your teeth, a square of chocolate that tastes like wax, and a small packet of something you hope is tea. You chew slowly, savoring the small act of eating, even if the food tastes like ashes and regret. Around you, men shift and whisper, their voices low and rough. Someone prays, someone curses, someone laughs. Nervous and brittle, you join none of them. Silence is your shield. The captain barks orders. Move forward. Hold position. Fall back. The words float over the mud like smoke, impossible to grasp, but you obey. You always obey. You watch the sky darken with smoke and cloud. The horizon is a blur of destruction and hopelessness. No one talks about winning anymore. It's just about making it through the next hour, the next minute, the next breath. A rat runs over your boot. You don't move. You don't want to startle it. It's probably smarter than you anyway. You feel a hand on your shoulder. It's your sergeant. He says it's time. Time to move out of the trench and into the open. Into the firing line. Into the teeth of hell. You swallow hard. Your mouth is dry, your hands shaky, but you nod. Because that's what soldiers do. They move when they're told, even if every step feels like the last. You take a deep breath. You look forward at the muddy wasteland that waits. You step out. The moment your boots hit the open ground, the world changes. The trench was a cage, cramped and muddy, but it was shelter. Now it's a hunting ground. No walls to hide behind, just dirt and sky, and the sound of bullets singing death songs. The mud clings to your boots like a second skin, dragging your steps into slow motion. Each footfall is a battle against the earth, as if the ground itself wants to swallow you whole. Your heart hammers in your chest, not from exertion, but from the knowing. You know the bullets are coming. They don't wait for you to get ready. They don't care if you're tired or scared. They just come, invisible and deadly, and some find their mark. You glance left. A man stumbles and falls. No time to help, no time to stop. You swallow the knot in your throat and keep moving. The sky above is a dull grey, smeared with smoke from distant fires. The sun is a weak promise behind the clouds, barely lighting the nightmare below. You crawl when you can, then run when you must. Each movement feels like wading through a nightmare, every step soaked in mud and fear. A shell explodes nearby, sending dirt and debris flying. Your ears ring and your lungs fill with dust. You cough and wipe the grit from your eyes, heart pounding in your ears. You catch sight of the enemy lines ahead. Barbed wire stretches like steel snakes, waiting to tear flesh and morale alike. Beyond it, the enemy's dark shapes move, like ghosts in the haze. Your orders are clear: breach the wire, take the trench, hold the ground. You grip your rifle tighter. The metal feels cold and unforgiving in your hands. Your fingers trembled. You tell yourself it's the cold, but you know it's fear. Whistle blows. Sergeant. The charge. You sprint forward, boots splashing through the muck. Bullets whistle past your ears, some too close for comfort. You hear a cry, a thud, then silence. You dive into a shallow crater, mud spraying up your face. Your breath comes fast, shallow. You check your body. No blood, no pain, just adrenaline and the bitter taste of dirt. Around you, men shout, fire, fall. The world narrows to the next step, the next breath, the next shot. You scramble toward the barbed wire. Your hands tear at the tangled steel, fingers bleeding. The wire bites back, sharp and relentless. You curse under your breath. A comrade helps from behind, pulling you free. Together, you press on. You reach the enemy trench. It's a hole in the earth, a pit of despair and death. You climb in, heart pounding. The smell hits you first, smoke, blood, sweat, and something worse. The smell of too many men dying too quickly. You find yourself face to face with a soldier who blinks in disbelief. There's no time for words. The fight is brutal and brief. Fists, rifles, bayonets, a blur of movement and pain. You come out standing. Barely. The trench is yours for now. You lean against the mud wall, chest heaving, mind spinning. You wonder how many more times you'll have to do this. How many more battles before it ends? But you don't think about that now. Because now is all there is. The trench you took feels less like a victory and more like a coffin with an open lid. The mud sticks to your boots, thick and cold, mixing with the blood and sweat that won't wash off for weeks. The air tastes stale, heavy with smoke, wet earth, and the unmistakable smell of death. Around you, men sit or slump, faces streaked with grime, eyes glazed and distant. Some stare at nothing, some stare at everything. Some stare at the sky, as if looking for an escape that won't come. You want to say something, but the words catch like grit in your throat. The silence here is different. It's not peaceful. It's the kind that hums in your ears, filled with memories you can't forget, and thoughts you don't dare have. You shift your weight, feeling every ache and pain like an old one reopened. Your back stiff from crawling, your hands scraped raw from barbed wire, your legs bruised and battered. But none of it matters as much as the feeling of being utterly, unbearably trapped. You pull out your canteen and take a long, slow sip. The water tastes of metal and mud, but it's better than nothing. Better than the dry ache in your throat. You look around and see the faces of your squad. Some are quiet, some try to joke, but the humor is thin, fragile. The war has taken the color from their eyes and left only shadows. A medic moves between the wounded, his face tight with exhaustion. You catch his eye and nod, a silent thank you for keeping you alive. Somewhere in the distance, artillery pounds again. The earth trembles beneath your feet, a constant reminder that the nightmare is far from over. You think about home, about your mother's cooking, the feel of fresh sheets, the sound of a friendly voice. But those thoughts feel like a different life, like stories from a book you once read. The night comes slowly. Darkness falls like a shroud, swallowing the trench and everything in it. You lie back against the mud wall, pulling your blanket tighter. The cold bites deep, seeping into your bones. Sleep is a stranger here. When it comes, it is fitful and filled with dreams you don't want to remember. But rest is a luxury you can't afford, because tomorrow the war continues. The dawn breaks with the grey light of despair, not hope. You wake stiff, cold, and smelling of mud and fear. The world feels heavy, like the sky itself presses down to crush what's left of your spirit. You pull your blanket tighter, reluctant to face the day, but orders wait for no man. You push yourself up, muscles complaining, bones aching, and step into the trench's muddy embrace again. There's a small moment of quiet, an eerie pause before the storm. Somewhere in your pack, you find a letter, not yours. It belongs to a comrade you barely know. Folded and creased, the ink blurred from rain and tears. You unfold it carefully, as if touching someone else's grief might somehow spare your own. The words are hurried, filled with longing and promises of return, of better days. You think about your own letters, the ones you wrote, the ones you hoped would find home, the ones that never came back, or worse, the ones that arrived after everything changed. War is a thief, stealing time, memories, futures. It rips apart families and leaves you clutching scraps of paper and fading hope. You fold the letter back, pocket it, and glance around. Faces are drawn tight, eyes distant. Some men try to smile, but the effort is draining, fleeting. Breakfast is a tin of cold stew, leftovers from last night's horror. You eat because you must, not because you want to. The taste is a mixture of dirt, metal, and forgotten dreams. The sergeant calls you to attention. Orders for the day are brief and sharp. Recon patrol at dawn, supply run at noon, hold position otherwise. The list is endless and the danger always near. You check your rifle, load your clips, and tighten your grip. Every second here could be the last. You glance at your watch. Time moves strangely out here, seconds dragging into eternity, days bleeding into one another. You hear a faint whistle, like a breath caught in a throat. Then the crack of a sniper's bullet. The war is never far away. You don't flinch. You can't. You just move forward, carrying the weight of the letter, the mud, the fear, and the hope that maybe, just maybe, you'll see home again. Waiting is a weapon in this war. It's sharper than a bayonet, heavier than a pack full of ammo, and twice as cruel. You learn quickly that sometimes the hardest fight is the one you don't fight, the one where you sit in mud and cold and silence, eyes scanning the horizon, waiting for death or orders, whichever comes first. You settle into a rhythm that's less about life and more about endurance. Your breath clouds the morning air, mingling with the smoke and dust. Every noise makes your heart jump. The rustle of a rat, the distant crack of a branch, a bird's call that sounds like a warning. You watch your squad mates, each lost in their own worlds. Some read worn letters, others pick at their uniforms, and a few stare blankly into the mist. You wonder what they're thinking, what ghosts they're wrestling. Your own mind drifts, haunted by faces and places you can't visit anymore. You think about the smell of fresh bread, the warmth of a fire that didn't threaten to burn you alive, the laughter of friends you might never hear again. The sun rises higher, but warmth doesn't come with it. The day is grey, the clouds low and heavy like a shroud. You try to focus on the small things, the way the mud squelches beneath your boots, the bitter taste of stale coffee, the feel of cold metal in your hands. You know that soon the quiet will break, orders will come down like thunder, and the world will erupt into chaos again. For now, though, you wait. Watch, breathe. Hold on to the fragments of yourself left after so many battles, because in this war, survival is less about heroics and more about patience. And luck. You pray you have enough of both. The orders come down in a clipped voice. Patrol at first light. A reconnaissance run beyond the trenches into the unknown. It's a job wrapped in quiet dread, a task that tastes like dirt and fear. Before you even step outside the safety of the mud walls, you prepare mechanically, check your rifle, pack your gear, load the clips until your fingers sting. You stuff rations and water into your pack, knowing full well the weight you carry might slow you when the bullets fly. You don't dare think about what you might find out there. You don't dare imagine the worst. The sky is still grey when you slip out, the chill sinking into your bones. Your squad moves silently, shadows slipping through the fog. Every step feels like a gamble with death. The earth is wet, the grass slick and sharp beneath your boots. The smell of damp leaves and smoke hangs heavy. You keep your eyes sharp, scanning for movement, for signs, for traps. The enemy could be anywhere or nowhere. The silence is thick, broken only by the soft crunch of boots and the occasional distant boom of artillery. Your heart hammers in your chest as you cross no man's land, the space between the trenches that holds more corpses than life. You remember the stories, how men disappear here, swallowed by mud, by bullets, by silence. You glance at your comrades, faces tight with tension, eyes darting. Some grip their rifles like lifelines, others wipe sweat from their brows despite the cold. You all move as one, a fragile unit bound by shared fear. Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes, you freeze. Fingers tighten on triggers, eyes scan. Nothing. A fox maybe, or just the wind playing tricks. You keep moving, muscles taut. You know the patrol is about more than just gathering intelligence. It's a test of nerves, of trust, of will. One mistake and you're dead. One whisper and the whole line could collapse. You reach a ridge overlooking the enemy trench. You squat low, binoculars pressed to your eyes. You see shapes, men, weapons, maybe a machine gun nest. You try to memorize every detail, every possible threat. A sudden crack, a sniper's bullet. It thuds into the dirt just inches from your foot. You jerk back, heart pounding, breath caught. You see the enemy, a shadow moving behind a tree. The sergeant signals to retreat. You move fast, boots pounding, breath ragged. Bullets chase you, some kicking up dirt nearby. The ground seems to tremble beneath the hailstorm. You hit the trench, relief flooding you like a wave. Men shout and scramble. You don't look back. You don't want to know who didn't make it. You collapse against the muddy wall, chest heaving. The taste of dust and fear coats your mouth. The world narrows to the sound of your ragged breathing. Your comrades gather, faces grim, some wounded, some shaken. The sergeant counts heads, his voice sharp but hollow. You think about the man who got hit. His name, his face, his last words. You push it away, like you push everything away. There's no time for grief here. Only survival, only waiting, only the war. Night arrives slowly, folding over the battlefield like a heavy, suffocating blanket. It's not the kind of night you find comfort in. There's no peace in the darkness here, only silence filled with shadows and waiting. The cold seeps through your uniform, gnawing at your skin, and the mud that's been your constant companion turns slick and treacherous beneath your boots. The trenches are crowded, the air thick with the smell of sweat, smoke, and something metallic that you know too well, blood. You lean against the wet dirt wall, trying to still your shaking hands. The dampness clings to your clothes, chilling you despite the layer of grime and grit that's soaked into your skin. Your fingers are numb, your lips cracked, but you force yourself to move. You have to. Around you, men settle into their spots. Some try to sleep, curled into tight balls that make them smaller and less noticeable to death. Others sit silently, staring into the dark, eyes wide and unblinking, watching for shadows that aren't there. You catch the quiet exchange of whispered prayers and the occasional curse, sounds swallowed almost immediately by the vast nothingness that surrounds you. The night is deceptive. It hides the dangers that daylight reveals and reveals the dangers that daylight hides. You learn to listen to every small sound. The drip of water from a broken pipe, the faint scrape of a boot, the slow, heavy breath of the man next to you. You learn to watch the darkness itself because in it lies the enemy, waiting, hunting, striking without warning. You pull your coat tighter around yourself, the cold pressing against your chest. Your body aches in ways you never imagined. Your muscles are stiff from days without rest. Your skin is scratched raw from barbed wire and grit. Your throat is dry. Your stomach gnaws with hunger you try to ignore. But the war doesn't care about hunger or cold or pain. It only cares about survival, and survival here is a fragile thing. You remember home, the warmth of your mother's kitchen, the smell of fresh bread, the laughter of children playing outside. Those memories feel like another life, one you left behind the day you stepped into this mud and blood. You wonder if you'll ever see them again, or if they're already gone, swallowed up by the endless nightmare of war. A soft cry breaks the silence, low and pained. You turn to see a young soldier, barely more than a boy, clutching his side where blood soaks through his fingers. His eyes are wide with fear and disbelief. You want to help, to say something to ease his terror, but you know there's nothing you can do. The medic is busy with others, and there's no time or supplies to save everyone. You sit back, the weight of helplessness pressing down like the mud around you. You've seen this too many times. Friends, strangers, men who looked like they had their whole lives ahead of them, cut down by a bullet or a shell, gone before they even had a chance to understand what was happening. Your thoughts are interrupted by the sharp bark of a voice ordering a patrol to the front lines. Some men groan, others grab their gear with wary hands. You steel yourself, checking your rifle and the handful of rounds you have left. You know the risks. You know that every step outside the trench could be your last. But there's no choice. Orders are orders. The patrol moves out into the darkness, shadows slipping through the night like ghosts. You watch them go, heart pounding, wishing you could be the one left behind. But you're no coward. You follow because that's what soldiers do. They follow, even when every instinct screams to run. The night air is thick and cold, wrapping around you like a shroud. Your breath fogs in front of you as you move, every sense alert. You listen for the faintest sound of movement, for the crack of a twig, the whisper of enemy voices. The world narrows to the rhythm of your footsteps and the tight grip on your rifle. Suddenly, a shot rings out, sharp, sudden, and terrifying. Men scatter, ducking for cover. Your heart slams against your ribs as you dive behind a mound of earth, fingers trembling. You scan the darkness, trying to pinpoint the source. Another shot, then another. The enemy is close. Bullets whip through the air like angry hornets. You fire back blindly, hoping to hit something, anything. The world becomes chaos. Shouts, gunfire, the sound of bodies crashing into mud. When the shooting stops, there's a heavy silence, broken only by ragged breathing and the groans of the wounded. You count heads. Some are missing. Some lie motionless. You feel numb. The adrenaline fades, leaving you hollow and cold. You sit back against the earth, rifle resting on your knees. The night is still, but it's a silence full of ghosts. You think of the boy you saw earlier, of the friends you lost, of the life you left behind. You wonder how many more nights like this you'll survive. And you wonder if surviving is all there is. The morning doesn't come like a gift here. It creeps in like an uninvited shadow, grey and reluctant. Your bones ache from the night's cold and the weight of grief. You sit in the trench, trying to find comfort in the small things. The rhythm of the mud drying on your boots, the faint smell of burnt coffee wafting from the mess tent, the occasional chirp of a bird daring to exist in this broken world. In your pocket, a folded letter trembles, its paper thin and fragile like the hope it carries. It came yesterday, carried by a man who looked older than his years, someone you barely know, someone who has seen too much. You stare at the handwriting, looping, hurried but unmistakably hers, your sister's. The lines blur as you read the words again and again. We're safe for now, she writes. The town holds, and I think of you every day. You fold it carefully, knowing the letter is a lifeline and a burden all at once. It's proof you're still remembered. A thread connecting you back to a world that feels like a dream. But it also reminds you how far you are from it, how thin that thread might snap at any moment. Around you, the trench hums with quiet conversations and the clatter of ration tins. The men exchange letters too, scraps of home, drawings from children, photographs with smiling faces that seem impossibly distant. Each letter is read and read, a fragile anchor against the storm of war. You glance up and see the captain pacing, his face tight with worry and determination. His orders are simple: hold the line. Keep watch, don't give an inch. You nod along, but inside you wonder how long the line can hold when the enemy pushes harder every day. You reach into your pack and pull out the small tin of hardtack biscuits. They are dry, crumbly, and tasteless, but they fill your stomach enough to quiet the growling. You chew slowly, savoring the act of eating, even if it's little more than a chore. The cold gnaws at your fingers as you pull out a tin cup and fill it with water from the nearby barrel. It tastes faintly of rust and something metallic, but it quenches your thirst. You sip carefully, eyes never stopping their watch. The war feels distant here, and impossibly close at the same time. It's in the mud under your boots, in the stains on your uniform, in the fatigue etched into every face. It's a constant presence, a weight pressing down on your chest. You hear a shout and turn to see a young recruit tripping over a crate, his face red with embarrassment and exhaustion. You offer a small smile, though your heart aches for him. You've been that boy, scared, uncertain, hoping for something better. The sun struggles to break through the clouds, casting a dull light over the trench. You think of home again, the smell of rain on dry earth, the laughter of children, the quiet warmth of a fire. But those memories feel fragile, like glass waiting to shatter. Your thoughts drift to your family, your mother's steady hands, your father's gruff voice, the way your sister's laughter could light up a room. You wonder if they're safe, if they're waiting for you, if they even remember the boy who left for war. A sudden explosion nearby snaps you back to reality. Dirt and debris shower down, and the earth shakes beneath your feet. Men scramble for cover, voices rising in panic and command. You grip your rifle tightly, heart pounding. The captain shouts orders, his voice cutting through the chaos. You fall into line, moving as one with the others, muscles taut and senses sharp. The enemy is close, and they want this ground as much as you do. You fire into the smoke, each shot a desperate prayer. The world narrows to the sound of gunfire, the smell of smoke, the taste of grit in your mouth. You don't think about home, or letters, or dreams. You only think about surviving. When the firing ceases, an eerie silence falls. You count heads, check weapons, tend to the wounded. The cost is high. Some won't see another letter. Some won't see another dawn. You sit back against the muddy wall, rifle resting on your knees. The letter in your pocket feels heavier now. A reminder of everything waiting for you, and everything you might never return to. You close your eyes and let the exhaustion take you, if only for a moment. The war rages on, indifferent to your pain or your hope. But in that brief respite, you remember why you fight. Not for glory or medals, but for the chance to see home again, to hear laughter, to hold a hand without fear. The letter may be fragile, but it's a lifeline, a reminder that beyond this hell, there is still a world worth fighting for. Dawn comes in slow, reluctant waves. The sky is a pale sheet of grey, like a bruise just starting to fade, but still tender to the touch. You wake to the cold press of mud against your cheek, the dampness seeping through your clothes, and the distant echo of a bird's call, a fragile note in the endless chorus of war. You lie still for a moment, muscles stiff and aching from the night's vigil. The world feels heavy, weighted down by the memories of the day before, the gunfire, the shouts, the cries that still echo in your mind. You try to push them away, but they cling like the mud that coats your boots. Your hands fumble for the tin cup beside you, water sloshing inside. It's cold and metallic, but it's enough to wash the taste of dirt and smoke from your mouth. You sip slowly, savoring the small relief. Around you, the trench stirs to life. Men stretch and yawn, faces drawn and eyes bleary. Some wash the grime from their skin with what little water they have. Others stare silently into the distance, lost in their own thoughts. The war wears them all down, stripping away pieces of who they once were. You stand and pull your coat tighter around you, the fabric stiff with mud and sweat. Your rifle feels heavy in your hands, a constant reminder of the life you've been forced to live. You check the chamber, then sling it over your shoulder. It's a small ritual, but it grounds you, anchors you to the present. Breakfast is a meager affair, hardtack biscuits that crumble at the touch, and a thin soup that tastes of boiled roots and desperation. You eat quietly, the noise of chewing and swallowing filling the space between the whispered prayers and low murmurs. The captain walks through the trench, his face grim but resolute. He delivers orders with the authority born of experience. The line must hold, no matter the cost. You nod along, though your heart feels heavy. You know the cost all too well. You glance at your comrades, seeing the exhaustion etched into every face. Some try to joke, to lighten the mood, but the laughter is brittle, a fragile shield against the darkness. You smile faintly, grateful for the momentary reprieve. The sun rises higher, but warmth doesn't follow. The air is thick with the scent of wet earth and smoke, a reminder that the battle is far from over. You pull your helmet down lower, readying yourself for the day ahead. Orders come down for a supply run, a chance to bring back food, ammunition, and news from the rear. It's dangerous work, crossing open ground with only a handful of men, and the hope that the enemy won't spot you. You volunteer without hesitation. It's better to be moving, to feel some control, even if it's fleeting. Standing still means waiting for death, and you refuse to give it the satisfaction. The squad gathers quietly, checking weapons and gear. The air is tense, each man aware of the risk. You exchange nods, silent promises to watch each other's backs. You step out of the trench, the mud sucking at your boots. The open ground stretches before you, a landscape scarred by craters and barbed wire, a wasteland where life fights to hold on. Every step is a test. Your heart races with every crack of distant gunfire, every whisper of movement in the brush. You keep your head down, eyes sharp, muscles coiled like a spring ready to snap. The wind carries the faint scent of smoke and blood, mingling with the earth and the rain that fell last night. You taste it on your tongue, bitter and metallic. You reach the supply point, a battered truck half buried in mud, its canvas torn and stained. You quickly load what you can, cans of food, boxes of ammunition, medical supplies. The weight presses down on you, but it's a good weight, something tangible to hold on to. The journey back is slower, nerves taut with every shadow and sound. You move in a tight formation, eyes scanning, rifles ready. A sudden crack echoes, a shot from the tree line. You dive to the ground as bullets tear through the air, dirt spraying around you. Your heart pounds in your ears as you scramble for cover, return fire instinctive and sharp. The firefight is brief but fierce. You see a figure drop behind a tree, the thud heavy in your chest. You fire again, but the enemy melts back into the shadows. When the shots fade, silence returns like a heavy fog. You count heads. One man is missing. A cold knot settles in your stomach. You drag your wounded comrade to cover, pressing a bandage to the bleeding wound. His eyes meet yours, filled with pain and a grim determination. You promise him you'll get him back. The rest of the run passes in tense silence, every step a reminder of the thin line between life and death. Back in the trench, you tend to the wounded, share the supplies, and try to hold on to some shred of normalcy in a world gone mad. Night falls again, colder and darker. You sit by a small fire, the flames flickering weakly against the shadows. You pull your coat tighter, the ache in your bones a constant companion. You think of home, the warmth, the laughter, the safety. You wonder if those things still exist, if you'll ever feel them again. The war is relentless, and so are you, because giving up means dying long before the bullets find you. And so you fight, one day, one breath, one heartbeat at a time. The cold is a living thing here. It creeps into your bones like a slow poison, settling deep where no fire can reach. It's in the mud that seeps through your boots, in the wet fabric clinging to your skin, in the breath you see hanging in the air like smoke. You wake to it every morning, the chill that steals sleep and drags you back to the ground. You lie in the trench, wrapped in a blanket that's damp and threadbare, your body stiff and aching from nights spent shivering. Your fingers are numb, clumsy with cold, making the simple act of buttoning your coat a frustrating task. You try to rub life back into them, but the cold always wins. The men around you are in the same fight, battling the weather as much as the enemy. You see faces drawn tight with exhaustion and weariness, eyes glassy from sleepless nights and the weight of despair. Some sit in silence, others mutter prayers or curse the heavens. The cold doesn't care for faith or curses. It just keeps coming, relentless and unforgiving. You think about the warmth of a fire, something real, not the flickering flame of the small brazier nearby that barely pushes back the chill. You remember the smoke rising from chimneys in your hometown, the crackle of logs in a hearth, the feeling of heat wrapping around you like a protective cloak. Here, the cold is a constant enemy, more insidious than any bullet or shell. Your stomach growls, a hollow reminder of hunger that the meager rations can't quite soothe. The bread is hard and stale, the soup thin and tasteless, but it's all you have. You chew slowly, not because you enjoy the food, but because your body demands fuel even when your spirit resists. You glance around at your comrades. Some share cigarettes, their hands shaking as they light them in the bitter air. The smoke curls and drifts upward, a fragile thread of warmth and comfort. You accept one when it's offered, the burn in your throat both painful and soothing. The cigarette is a small rebellion against the cold and the war. Time drags. The hours stretch endlessly, each minute a slow drip in the river of misery. There's little to do but wait. Wait for orders. Wait for relief. Wait for something to break the monotony of cold and fear. Waiting becomes a cruel game, testing your patience and your resolve. Your thoughts wander. You think of home again, of faces you miss and places you long to see. You imagine a warm bed, fresh clothes, a hot meal. The dreams feel distant, almost like lies you tell yourself to keep going. Suddenly, a shout breaks the stillness. The sergeant's voice rings out, sharp and commanding. Orders come down. Recon patrol at dusk. The men move quickly, shaking off the lethargy that the cold has wrapped around them like a shroud. You prepare your gear methodically, checking your rifle and ammunition. The cold numbs your fingers, but your hands obey, trained and practiced. The thought of moving, of action, sparks a flicker of life in your chest. The patrol sets out as the sun dips low, the sky painted in shades of red and orange. The fading light casts long shadows over the scarred earth, turning familiar shapes into monsters. You move cautiously, senses heightened, every sound amplified in the quiet of the dying day. The ground is slick with mud, the air thick with the smell of smoke and decay. You feel the weight of the rifle in your hands, the pressure of the pack on your back. Every step is a test of endurance and nerve. You reach the edge of no man's land, the ground between your trench and the enemy's. It's a wasteland of craters and barbed wire, a graveyard of hopes and lives. You scan the area, eyes sharp for any sign of movement, any hint of danger. Suddenly, a flash of movement catches your eye, a figure slipping through the shadows. Your heart hammers in your chest. You raise your rifle, finger tightening on the trigger. The figure pauses, then disappears into the mist. You signal to the squad, and you all fall back slowly, eyes never leaving the darkness. The patrol returns to the trench without incident, but the tension lingers, a cold knot in your stomach. Back in the trench, the cold feels even harsher after the night air. You huddle with the others, sharing body heat, stories, cigarettes. The camaraderie is a fragile shield against the loneliness and despair. You close your eyes, the exhaustion pulling at you. Sleep is fitful, filled with dreams of home and nightmares of the battlefield. The cold still wraps around you, unrelenting and merciless. You wake again to the same grey dawn, the same biting cold. The war grinds on, and so do you, one breath at a time, one step at a time, one day at a time. The cold never really lets up here. It sinks beneath your skin and settles in your bones like a permanent visitor. Days blur together, the grey skies, the endless mud, the quiet dread that coils tight in your chest. You carry the weight of survival like a stone in your gut. But it's the silence between the gunfire that gnaws at you the most. The waiting, the nothingness, the crushing loneliness that stretches on like an unbroken chain of grey. Today, your hands shake as you reach into your coat pocket and pull out a crumpled envelope. It's the same one you've carried for days now, its edges worn thin from constant folding and unfolding. It's a letter from home, or at least, it was supposed to be. You stare at the faded handwriting, the ink smudged from rain and sweat. The words feel distant, like echoes from another life. You never sent a reply. The letters from home have slowed to a trickle, and then stopped altogether. You don't know if it's because the mail can't get through, or if the war has finally reached your family's town. The thought twists your stomach into knots. It's a quiet terror, the fear of being forgotten, of slipping out of the lives you once knew without a trace. You tuck the letter back into your pocket, pressing your hand over it as if to hold on to the connection it represents. The war is relentless, indifferent to the memories and hopes you clutch like lifelines. You glance around at your squad mates. Some are huddled in small groups, trading scraps of news and rumors. Others sit alone, staring into the distance with faces drained of color. The strain of the endless fighting shows in their eyes that have seen too much, Heard too much, felt too much. The captain approaches, his expression grave but steady. He reminds everyone to keep alert, that the enemy is regrouping and tonight could bring another assault. The words are a hammer blow, reminding you that the war never sleeps. Your stomach growls. The rations are nearly gone, and the bread is harder than the wooden crates stacked in the supply tent. You try not to think about the hunger, about how it twists your insides and steals what little strength you have left. You pull out a small tin of dried fruit, a rare luxury, and pop a piece into your mouth. The sweetness is sharp against the bitterness of the day. You close your eyes and let yourself imagine something simple: a warm kitchen, a soft bed, the sound of rain against a window. But the dream is fragile, breaking apart as quickly as it came. The war is waiting outside the trench, and it doesn't care about dreams or memories. You check your rifle, load the last rounds, and prepare for another night in the mud and cold. The weight of the gun in your hands feels heavier than ever, a reminder of the thin line between life and death. You think about the letters you never sent, the words you left unspoken. You wonder if your family remembers you, if they are safe, if they wait. The silence stretches out before you, thick and heavy. You breathe in the cold air, steady your trembling hands, and ready yourself for whatever comes next. Because this war is far from over. The day begins with the same dull grey sky, the same biting cold that never seems to leave your bones. The trench feels tighter today, the mud thicker, heavier, like it's trying to swallow you whole. You shift your weight on the cold, damp ground, trying to find a spot that doesn't ache. It's futile. Every muscle screams, every joint stiff. You wonder if your body remembers what rest feels like. Your breath puffs out in thin white clouds. The silence around you hums with a tense expectation. You know what's coming. The officers call it a preparatory barrage, but to you, it's just thunder before the storm, a roar that shakes the earth and threatens to tear the world apart. You check your rifle again, fingers numb but practiced. The cold bites through your gloves and into your skin, a reminder that every part of you is vulnerable here. Your boots are caked in mud, the soles worn thin. Your uniform hangs heavy and wet, soaked from last night's rain and today's drizzle. You glance at the men beside you. Faces drawn and pale, eyes hollow but alert. Some whisper prayers, others bite their lips in silence. You catch the sergeant's eye, and he gives a quick nod, a silent acknowledgement that you're all in this together. Then the ground trembles. At first, it's just a distant rumble, like thunder rolling over a mountain. But it grows quickly, a relentless pounding that fills the air with the sharp smell of smoke and dust. Shells begin to explode around you, throwing dirt and debris into the sky. The trench shakes, and you hear the desperate cries of men caught in the blast. Your heart races as you pull your helmet down tighter, pressing your back against the muddy wall. You grit your teeth against the noise, the chaos, the fear. Every explosion feels like a punch, the earth itself trying to rip you apart. You remind yourself to breathe, to keep steady even as the world shakes. The barrage continues, a brutal symphony of destruction. You hear the sharp whistle of incoming shells, the crack of rifles firing in response, the shouts and groans of men caught in the madness. Somewhere, a man screams. The sound is raw, desperate, a reminder that this isn't some distant war, but a brutal, immediate hell. You clutch your rifle tightly, knuckles white. The mud and blood swirl around your feet, mixing with the rain that started to fall again. You can taste the metallic tang of fear on your tongue. When the barrage finally ceases, a heavy silence falls, broken only by the crackling of fires and the groans of the wounded. You lift your head cautiously, scanning the shattered landscape. The trench is scarred, battered. Bodies lie motionless in the mud. The air is thick with smoke, dust, and the bitter scent of death. The captain shouts orders. It's time to move forward, to advance through the broken earth, to take the enemy's line. You swallow hard, knowing that the worst is yet to come. You clamber out of the trench, boots sinking into the mud as you push forward. The battlefield is a wasteland. Twisted metal, shattered trees, craters filled with water and blood. Bullets whistle past your head. You dive behind a fallen beam, heart pounding. You glimpse enemy soldiers firing from their trenches, faces masked with dirt and determination. You return fire, fingers trembling as you squeeze the trigger. The smell of gunpowder and smoke fills your lungs. The world narrows to the fight in front of you, the struggle to stay alive. You move cautiously, every step a risk. The mud sucks at your legs. The cold bites at your skin. You hear the cries of the wounded, the commands shouted over the din. Suddenly, a shell explodes nearby, showering you with dirt and shrapnel. You stumble but catch yourself, heart racing. You press on, driven by a mix of fear, duty, and sheer will. The enemy line is closer now. You see the barbed wire tangled and torn. You hear the sound of voices shouting, rifles firing. You ready your bayonet, the cold steel a familiar weight in your hand. You charge. The fight is brutal, close, messy, desperate. You grapple with an enemy soldier, the mud slick beneath your feet. You hear the clash of metal, the grunt of exertion. You strike, hear a cry, then silence. Breathless, you look around. The enemy is falling back. The trench is yours. You collapse against the mud wall, chest heaving. The adrenaline fades, leaving a hollow ache. The world feels unreal, broken, bleeding. You close your eyes for a moment, trying to gather strength. The war is far from over, but for now you hold this ground. The air is thick with dust and smoke, a heavy fog that clings to your skin and seeps into your lungs. Your hands tremble as you lower your rifle, the weight of the day pressing down on you like the mud beneath your boots. The battlefield is a broken wasteland, scarred and silent now, but the echoes of gunfire and screams still haunt every corner of your mind. You lean against the shattered wall of the trench you helped take, muscles trembling from exhaustion and adrenaline. Your breath comes in ragged gasps, the cold air burning your lungs with each inhale. The war has pushed you to the edge, and you wonder how much longer you can hold on. Around you, the men move slowly, faces pale and drawn. Some tend to the wounded with shaky hands. Others sit in stunned silence, staring at the mud as if it might swallow them whole. The weight of what you've seen and done settles on you all like a shroud. You close your eyes for a moment, trying to block out the memories. The flashes of violence, the faces of those who won't come back, the sound of your own heartbeat pounding in your ears. But the past clings stubbornly, refusing to let go. A faint moan breaks the silence. You turn to see a comrade lying in the mud, blood seeping from a wound in his side. His eyes meet yours, filled with pain and fear. You crawl over, pressing a makeshift bandage to the bleeding wound, your hands shaking. There's no medic nearby, no hope of quick help. You do what you can, but you know it might not be enough. The day drags on, the sun dipping lower in the sky. The chill deepens, and the shadows grow long and cold. You watch as the men around you settle into the uneasy quiet that follows battle. A quiet that's louder and more terrifying than the fighting itself. Your stomach churns, empty and aching. The rations brought back a meagre. Hard biscuits, cold stew, and a few scraps of preserved meat. You eat slowly, savoring each bite as if it might be your last. You think of home, the warm kitchen, the sound of rain on the window, the laughter of family. Those memories feel like a distant dream, fragile and fading. You wonder if you'll ever see them again. The captain gathers the men, his voice steady despite the exhaustion etched into his features. He speaks of holding the line, of preparing for what's next. There's no rest in this war, only moments stolen between storms. You check your rifle again, cleaning the mud and blood from the barrel. The cold bites at your fingers, but you work quickly, knowing that every second counts. Night falls, and with it comes a heavy silence. The stars peek through the clouds, distant and cold. You lie in the trench, wrapped in your damp blanket, muscles aching and heart heavy. Sleep is elusive, chased away by nightmares and the constant fear of what tomorrow might bring. You think about the letters you never sent, the words left unspoken. You wonder if anyone is waiting for you, if your name is still remembered, or if you're just another shadow lost in the mud. The war grinds on, indifferent to your pain or hope, but you hold on because giving up is not an option. Not yet. You close your eyes, breathing deeply, trying to find peace in the chaos. For a moment, you are just a man, not a soldier, not a survivor. Just a man longing for home. The war doesn't end with a bang for you. No parade, no cheers, just the slow unraveling of months into years, and the fading of hope into a weary kind of survival. You wake to the same cold dawn, the same mud, and the same grey sky, but something inside has shifted. A quiet reckoning settling deep where fear once lived. You are alive. Somehow, against every odds, you are alive. The order comes down to pull back, to move toward the rear. The retreat isn't glorious. It's slow and muddled, and filled with the same dread that chased you into the front lines. You pack up what little you have, the rifle still heavy in your hands, the memories heavier still in your mind. The march is long, your legs ache, your back burns, and every step feels like you're dragging the weight of every fallen friend behind you. You see fields scarred by shell craters, villages reduced to ash, faces of civilians twisted by fear and loss. The world you left behind when you enlisted is gone, replaced by something unrecognizable and raw. You think of home, not the place, but the people, the ones you fought for, the ones who believed in you. You clutch the last letter from your sister in your pocket, worn and fragile. It's a small thread tying you back to a world you can barely remember. At night, you sit by a small fire with the men who have survived alongside you. The laughter is rare and brittle, but it reminds you that humanity still flickers somewhere beneath the horror. You share stories, half-truths, and dreams of what might come after the war. You see the toll the years have taken on your comrades. Some broken, some hardened beyond recognition. You wonder how much of yourself has changed, how much of the boy who left home remains. As you draw closer to the rear, the landscape shifts. You see signs of life returning, farmers in fields, children playing amidst ruins, the cautious rebuilding of what was lost. It's a fragile hope, but it's there. The war is not over. You know that. But for now, the front line recedes, and with it comes a breath, a moment to gather what's left of yourself. You think of the letters you never wrote, the words you left unsaid. You vow to write again, to tell the stories, to remember. Because surviving isn't just about staying alive. It's about holding on to the pieces of who you are. You walk on, one step at a time, into a future that feels uncertain, but still full of promise. And for the first time in a long time, you allow yourself to hope.